Hi there, Luke from myVolts here. Good to see you all. I've got some very interesting news to share with you about ground loops and noise and how to remove noise from your synths and pedal setups. I want to share something which guitarists have known for about a decade, and that is that if you isolate all your devices, you've a lot less likely getting noise, unwanted noise when your setup buzzes and hums and hisses. So what we've done with our Silent Alchemist, this is our new USB isolated power hub, is that we've not only created a powerful hub that gives you 20 watts on each of the ports, we've also decided to isolate each port. Now, if you want to remove ground loops, and ground loops are basically, within any circuit, every bit of electronics has a number of elements within it that are requiring like 2 bits of information to operate. They need 2 voltages. They need a 0 voltage, and they need to know what that is accurately, and then they need to know their operating voltage. So when you have a number of devices, I mean, if you take the example of this pedal board, you've got 5 devices which are effectively pieces of electronics that are connected to each other through the audio connection, so therefore electronically connected. And then you've also got them all being powered individually as well. So the thing is that if you power them all from a single source, you will get confusion as to where the 0 is. There's a leaking of that information between the devices, and it doesn't end well in terms of hiss and buzz and hum. So there are kind of 2 ways that you can solve that problem. And synth people have tried different things. There is a thing you can do on the audio side. You can get these little ground loop isolators and put these in line on every audio output. And like that is one way of removing the ground loop noise, and it works. But one of the problems there is that you're kind of doing it after the fact. And if you can remove the ground loop on the power side, it's, well, first of all, you're not messing around with your audio signals. You're not interfering with the waveform development. Very quickly, ground loop isolators become filters as well. So you might filter out some of the frequencies that obviously you want a full spectrum when you want to hear out what you put in. So that's maybe not the best solution. So like I said, what guitarists worked out about 10 years ago was that if you actually isolate each of the connections to your devices, and what they've used is they've developed there's all these great isolated power supplies, and each connection has been electrically isolated from each other. So therefore, it's the same as having its own power source. You can recreate this in a very simple way. Is, if you wanted to power everything from a separate battery, for example, if you USB power it from a power bank, it's the equivalent of that to be able to take each individual input as its own connection. Obviously, if you did that with each individual power bank, it would become very expensive and a bit hard to manage after a while. So these little things, like this little unit from Qux, is a lifesaver. And there's lots of other possibilities. Here's another one from Donner. This is a cheaper one. It's maybe not as good, but probably better than just plugging straight in from the wall. This will do your pedal board. That's got 9 different connections, and it's got a 12 volt in, and it can give you 9 volt center negative, but also has an 18 volt there as well. There's more advanced ones like this OJ from Strymon. Some of you probably have this sort of stuff in your setup. You see these a lot of times built very cleanly into pedal boards. They sometimes have 9 volt center negative outputs. They have some of the ports are switchable. You can send out 9, 12, 15, 18. You can change the polarity of them. They're all very good. Here's another Harvey Benton one. It's quite a popular one. Again, you've got an A/B port here, which you can switch at the back, whether it's 12, 18, or 9 volt output. So there's lots of variation in that. And what we find is that like these are great solutions for your pedals, but the thing is that each of these ports can give you maybe 3 or 4 watts, and that's great for a pedal. But if you want to power bigger items such as an analog 4 from Electron, if you want to power some of the core gear, it's almost impossible to do that with these small isolated connectors. So what we at myVolts did was we decided we'd make a big super hub, which has lots of power. Like I said, we've got a 100-watt port which is unisolated, so you can power your laptop off that. You can also then power any of these remaining 5 USB-C ports or these 2 USB-A ports. I'm actually powering with this USB-A port. I'm powering this guy here, the Qux. And I can see when I looked earlier on the little readout, this is only taking 6 or 7 watts for these 5 pedals. However, with these larger items, for example, the Electron Analog 4, this takes about 16 watts. So you're never going to be able to power one of them with any of these. So it's great to be able to evolve the possibility. Like I said, it works great with the larger synths, the smaller synths as well. These smaller guys here, only take 1 or 2 watts, but anything up to 20, again, this is maybe 7 or 8 watts. And one of the great things about our USB power hub is that we've also made it so you can power it from the wall like you normally do, but there's another advantage in that it also has a USB-C input. So I'm actually powering all of this from this single USB power bank. So that's a 100-watt power bank. We've got these cool little cables that have an LCD which tells you how many watts you're using. So I can see all this setup here is taking 52 watts. So that's, it's a nice, and that's including, like I said, the pedals are connected here. I've got this speaker here, the Roland Street Cube. And the thing is that a lot of the time you might find synths on their own are not much of a problem to power. There's not much noise. But if you get into, powering a speaker from the same circuit or maybe a recording device, you come into all sorts of issues because you're sharing the power source. Whereas with an isolated hub, you don't get that issue. So that's a little bit more about the Silent Alchemist. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, if you have any questions, you might want to know about the USB connections that we have. We've either got these step-up connections, which are a simple little unit that we make that goes on the end of a USB-C cable, and they give different voltages. They're different colors for different voltages. That's a 9-volt center negative one. This is a 9-volt center positive one. So we do all sorts of things. We also do a USB-A connection, which we call ripcord. But if you want to know anything about USB powering your gear, we know all about it, and we're dying to help you. Talk to you soon.